slow down, she know I'm going in now. I live a rock star lifestyle. Mama told me slow down, she know I'm going in now. I live a rock star lifestyle. Nevertheless, I remain the truth. Got VVS on my chain of pull. Can't settle for less, make major moves. I broke them all, then I made the rules. Go to war with the stars in a beta suit. Every shot I took straight 80 proof. This right here, what I made it do. I put it all on the page and I break.
I mean, I'm recording now. If you want to give us your Z impersonation one more time.
Hello, I am Z, the old man, and I'm here to tell you about my Keyforge adventures.
Weird story. He's #1 in the world. I don't know if anybody's told you that.
Well, when you say he, you're referring to me.
Yes, of course.
I am. I have been around so long, I just keep growing more gray hair because there's no OP support, so I am just the forever champion of Keyforge. I am immortal.
Which is
I am Z.
Because Z has so little hair.
I think the funny part is Ewok and I both might be older than Z.
I couldn't tell you. I have no idea. But what's going on, everybody? Another Archons corner. You heard Big Z. He is the ancient one. Big Z or whatever. I don't really know. That was spot on. That was real good. But
now I'm so tired. I must take a break and rest for this week. I'll see you next week.
Go play Heart of the Forest and just kind of hang out. But we got JR. What's up, JR?
Hello, Keyforge community. Great to be back.
We got Sheep.
Yeah, I'm here.
He's here. And filling in for Z this week, a Z of a different sort. A Draz Z. That's horrible. Drazcore. What's up, Drazcore?
Hey, guys.
I'm not even going to say that one. That was really awful.
I think we can call him Z-Core now.
Z-Core? Oh, gosh. It's like an accent or something? I don't know.
I like it.
Strange.
Z-Core. That sounds like a drug that they just gave me for this itch that I have.
Yeah, or deodorant or something.
Weird story. But it's been another week of Keyforge. We had Oubliette this weekend. Am I reading this right in the show notes? Z. I just said Z. My God. Sheep, you were the winner?
I did win a thing.
So tell us why you suck at Keyforge then.
I suck at Keyforge because I use other people's ridiculously overpowered decks to win in a format that was designed to not be filled full of ridiculous overpowered decks.
But that's what we do as the Keyforge community. In the competitive nature, we have a number of people, Sheep, and others who will always try to break. I mean, that's part of being a gamer, is that you try and break the format, which is both good and bad. But this is the forever question. Can normal gamers go ahead, if you get one deck or 10 decks or 50 decks, can you compete against people who have the larger collection or access to team collections? And I think some of those amazing, ridiculously overpowered decks do very well in certain formats. So it was a new format. It was a lot of fun, but tell us a little bit about it.
That's you, Dan.
Sorry, my printer was also running in the background here, so I tried to mute myself.
If you're unaware, Dan is also shipping decks to you right now. So if you are expecting a deck from Dan, he is shipping it today.
Actually, every listener currently is
expecting a deck from Dan.
Yep, right now.
And if you
those
notice,
who are listening right now, which would be at 9:29 p.m. CST on 9/9/21. Any other time, you can't have anything.
And if you get the wrong decks, know that it was just shipped out in error there. So
totally at random. It's going to be some Ollie's AOA trash.
Oh, nice. Anyways,
we'll get to that later.
Ollie's in a little bit.
Okay, so the Oubliette format was you brought 2 decks, and you chose a house to ban. So that means when your opponent looked at the 2 decks they brought, they couldn't play a deck with whatever house you said they're not allowed to play. Okay, and obviously you can't have that house either. So your opponent gets to choose a house, and you can't play it. So if you, for some reason, which somebody did do, bring 2 decks that both had Sanctum in them, and your opponent picked Sanctum as their ban, both your decks would be eliminated, and you would just auto-lose that round.
But the person who brought double Sanctum didn't lose because no one wanted to ban Sanctum.
I was going to say, did anybody actually ban Sanctum? Is that a list we could find somewhere?
It probably exists, right? They were submitted. I don't know. We have to bring back Z, right, to know this. I think he.
Oh boy, I don't know, but Sheep, what did you ban? My guess. Hold on, I want to guess. I'm gonna guess you banned Dis.
And I'm sure Sheep is muted over there. I was actually planning on playing in the event. I did quite a bit of testing for it. For me, in my setup, I think that banning Dis was the correct choice for mine. There was a choice to go actually a really hot Logos deck and a really, really hot top tier Dis deck. And those I figured would be the top two bans, Logos or Dis. I do think that my other choice of, playing my Logos deck and then a nice, very, 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 I'd call it B plus deck that didn't have Dis was where I could do with just my deck selection. But there was some really interesting choices. Watching some of the AC locals, some of the AC regulars go ahead and talk it through. There were some different strategies, which is why I did like the oubliette. What
were the? I guess my question is because in my mind, okay, and I'm a very narrow-minded person, so help me out. Because I'm dumb. I hit stick with rock, drag knuckles, all that jazz. In my mind, there's only two houses that I would ban. That is Dis or Logos.
Correct.
And that's it. Like, I have no reason to ban any other house. The only other house I would possibly ban is Shadows because I just do not want to play against too much to protect.
So here's the thing though, as I was going through the testing, you cannot repeat, or I didn't see it as a logical choice to go ahead and repeat a deck because someone bans it and then you're just out. I mean, you take an auto loss. However, what it plays to is you have a certain play style. With Dis being out, now the Infernus meta is not there. You also have impact on cards for bounce. And so being able to strike dinos actually, your ability, what you are bringing to play has to be thought about as well. Sheep, I know one of the two decks that he had was Pink Fraud. So being able to see
you dirty man.
You
brought Pink Fraud.
I dirty dogged it all the way.
That is, you are a bad person. So why didn't you just bring a heart deck?
So what were the three? What are the three houses on Pink Fraud for all those who aren't following along at home and haven't heard it? And then what was your other deck?
So I played Pink Fraud, and the other one was called Q-Fink something. So in truth, I brought two decks. I only played Fraud the whole time. I never had to play the other deck.
And what were the three houses on Fraud again?
I was just going to ask. I don't remember. I know Mars is one, right?
It definitely has Mars, has Logos, and has Shadows.
So nobody was able to ban Logos there?
Nobody banned Logos.
Nobody you play.
That is correct. So There are stats. 3 people banned Logos, 3 people banned Mars, and 4 people banned Shadows. The top ones were Dis and Untame, where both of those pulled 9.
Who's afraid of Untamed?
Untamed Burst. You have it.
I know it first, but
so you got a picture. Go ahead.
The strategy most people seem to end up going with is they found their 2 best decks that didn't have house overlap, right? So you find your 2 best decks without house overlap, and then from the houses that are left, you ban whatever is best of what is left. So a lot of people brought exactly what you're saying, 1 Dis deck and 1 Logos deck, expecting those to be the 2 most common bans. Right? And then there's 5 of us that banned Soaring, because that's kind of where I was. Because I had a Dis house, I had Logos, I had Untamed, right? Which are 3 of the most likely to be banned houses because they have the strongest play styles, right? I know the Dis ban really makes a lot of sense because, like, friend of the show, Joker, who did very well until he was 3-0, I think, when he met up with me on Pink Fraud, and he was playing a 26 pipped Amber
DT,
pipped
yep.
DT deck that was like a 60-some sass deck and was doing very well with his choices because he banned Dis, so they couldn't Infernus meta his deck to death. But he couldn't compete with the ridiculous draw potential that I had, right? And the deck did just fire and just, like he said, hey, thanks for coming and playing solo against me, which is basically what I did, right? That is kind of what Fraud does often, is it just kind of plays its own game and wins on turn 7, and it says, thanks for coming to the table.
It just wins,
Yeah.
Well, but that's when I was going through and doing deck testing for it, because again, this was something I'd set up with the wife. Hey, I'm playing. I had this set up to go. There was a need from someone from church to be able to move out. There's some situation, and again, you help. That's what we do in the community. So I don't go ahead and question my choice. I was bummed, so I cheered you on from the sideline. I did, say a few words because you were playing Fraud Sheep, but I was also cheering on Joker and the others who were there. I think Joker's decks were very powerful, the deck choice. But when I was running through it, Untamed had huge burst potential because of DT and because of Coda. And so both of those were issues. The other piece that I consistently saw was Jenka that was coming from Mars and the ability to just key cheat with it. And so that's where you have to start thinking is, okay, what can I do? But not everyone, like Mars is just such a low pick in my mind to be able to block it because you're not hitting enough people. So I think it wasn't a logical choice.
I actually wasn't able to make the event, but as I was thinking about, hey, if I could make it, what should I ban? It did cross my mind to ban Mars in that sort of like double think, like everybody's going to be expecting the bans on Logos and Dis, so find that Jenka deck and bring that, and or your double Battlefleet Key Abduction, Pink Fraud, and bring that, right? And would that be an interesting strategy? Obviously, not that many people want that route. I don't know if we have stats on how many people actually brought Mars to the table, but could be interesting.
So, Draskor, when you're talking,
there were 12 Mars decks in the field.
Yeah. Okay. So when I was running, and again, this was just on TCO, it was pretty open. I did state what was happening, and so there was a disadvantage because people knew what I was banning ahead of time, so they kind of played around that. But in that regard, what I found was that I was honestly still better to bring my top Logos deck and my top Dis deck, or my top Logos deck, and I had an Unfathomable, Untamed, and I don't even remember what the third house was in that DT. And those decks were a better choice for me, and then going ahead and hitting the Saurian than it was for me to go ahead and ban Mars. I had outs against Inca as best you can, and that answer is, with the rush, you're just going to rush and kind of go with it. So they're just in those odds, looking at the matchups, you have to be able to make a decision. I know we always talk about being the meta. So I like that counter into, like, I'm going to counter you before. But there aren't a lot of competitive Jenka decks that I saw as being played. But the problem is when you get to the top competitive, it just gets ridiculous.
See, for me, Mars would almost be fourth on the list, maybe fifth, but probably fourth, because it's Dis and Logos. That's kind of like 1A, 1B. Doesn't really. I mean, I'd rather just not deal with Infernus and then deal with Logos. So I guess Dis, Logos would be my top two. Then Saurians because of their Worlds Collide, Exile, yada yada shenanigans, and then then it's Genka. That's the next thing that comes to mind for me. That's just like, because Genka decks, they're kind of tough to play around.
I don't know. I think if you were worried about Mars but you don't want to ban it because it's a bad choice, which when you look at the selection of decks people brought, it's a bad choice. Like Saurian was 28, Sanctum 28, Shadows 34, Untamed 30, Dis 31, Logos 37, Star Alliance 34. Like those are going to get you the most action. Mars at 12 was a lot less. But I think if you brought one decent disc deck that included Disruption with Infernus, and then your other deck had Untamed and Punked, like, you can deal with most Jenka decks. Like, truthfully, it has been proven now, over time, that there are that many good Jenka decks.
But that's what I was talking about, though, is that you have to be able to have, like, there just aren't enough top tier competitive Jenka.
Oh.
And so you can go ahead and have Disruption that's there. You can also go ahead and straight out rush it sometimes. I mean, I've gone ahead and lost with good Jenka just because I've gotten outrushed.
Almost every good Jenka deck also includes Logos or Dis. Mm-hmm. So banning either of those takes care of most Martian Generosity Cube
most of the
decks.
good ones, anyway.
Yeah, the good ones. Like, there are plenty of not as good ones out there that can win games, but at this level, I mean, like, if you don't, I think you're picking, if you don't have huge C in your decks, then you pick Saurian, right? Because you can't deal with ridiculous warded boards.
Yep.
If you don't have good scaling Amber, you might go Untamed. And then if you just happen to not pick Logos or Dis in your two decks, those are always good choices because, people's strong stuff has that. But I think the intent of this event, which, like I said, Joker, I think, really did a much better job going with the intent of this event, which is pick two decks, use the ban to increase the strength of your decks, and go that way, where the route I played was bring two ridiculous things and don't really care what your opponent was playing. And it worked well until I hit Pak, who plays for United Archons and uses a collection of decks that probably rivals what I have access to. It's probably one of the best collections in the game, and he was playing this deck called Olivier, which in some ways feels a little bit like Fraud in that it does a bunch of Battlefleet stuff to draw a bunch of cards, and then it does recurring key cheat stuff with Nature's Called Chota. And just like, it can win on turn 3, that deck can.
Yeah.
And it's it just punched poor Pink Fraud right out of the water. And then I think and then I met Pak again in the finals, and maybe the only thing that saved me is I said, I should have changed my deck, which I really think I should have played my other deck against Olivier. When coming into the finals, I said, what the heck, I've only played Fraud all day, so I'm just going to play Fraud again and see if I can high roll. And he switched decks, maybe thinking I was going to do a switch as well, and it didn't pay out because we both had really kind of similar strategies. Both of us banned Saurians. We're playing the same kind of stuff.
So what you're saying is, don't be fancy with your play.
Yeah, and never be fancy.
I mean, but we overthink it, and that's part of Keyforge. It's a paper, rock, scissors piece, so I like that. But yes, just sticking with your deck, kind of what's there, what its strength is, and play it out.
I'm hearing we need a T-shirt.
Yeah, no, I really liked.
Never wins.
I really liked Oubliette for what it was. I think it is a great format to include. Not necessarily as giant collections, but as it turned out, I was the one of only 2 players on my team to be able to make the event. So I had access to every ridiculous thing available to me. And as you guys may have heard with Z-Core over there, the AC crew here has agreed to move over and help with the admin side of KFPL to the best of our abilities. So this was my last playing in a KFPL event for the foreseeable future. So I figured, why not bring the heat and try to go out with a bang?
And that you did.
Yep.
Bring in the smoke.
But
anyways,
go ahead.
I was going to say, talking about expanding our collection, we have a certain, I guess, what would we call them? A retailer? Is that what they are?
They
Ollie's?
are
a retailer.
They have stores. Right? They sell things. So
yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't know if it was like a resale shop.
Yeah, they're an overstock retailer, I think is what they're called.
Okay.
They buy other places overstock, super cheap, and sell it. So it's kind of like a Big Lot, sort of, or even a
Odd Job or one of these places. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of is it Builder Square that used to do it for building supplies?
Yep. Yeah, that's kind of the same
I don't know if those
thing.
exist anymore, but they were around.
TJ Maxx, kind of in the same realm.
TJ Maxx, Home Goods.
Yeah, it's one of those kinds of places.
So they buy stuff, and then they sell it super cheap. So they buy it on the super cheap, they sell it on the super cheap. But I think, JR, you have some of the big questions, and I think these are some good questions. So Ollie's got it's just AOA that we know of, right?
Yes.
Correct.
So they got a bunch of AOA. Take it away, JR.
So they went ahead and had just been following from Discord, from being able to go ahead and see on Reddit. I know our own Loki R from our area. I was actually out in Ohio visiting family, I believe. And so there were some Ollies that he was able to stop at. And
did he actually visit family, or did he just go to every Ollie's in the state?
He just went for the AOA, baby.
Yeah.
That's the old.
I'm giving him credit that he's going out to visit family. I know he has family there, and I know he is a family man, so I will say that for him. But he did hit quite a few Ollies. He also left some behind, which we appreciate. And so the idea was that starters, I want to say, was that $5?
Yeah, it was $5 for the 2-player starter.
Yep. And then a full box of 12 Archon decks. Was that $7.99?
Yeah.
And
crazy.
that is just mind-blowing to be able to see. And there were boxes upon boxes. So you had a full case that was there in some of the different stores. You could see pictures with multiple cases. So the first question we had is, where did all of these decks come from?
Yeah, these prices are actually really close to that. Right there at New Year's, there was that Canadian blowout of AOA as well.
Yeah, real brief, yeah.
So very similar prices all in all. But yeah, where is it coming from?
If you guys have any ideas, I mean,
Did AOA get to Excel? Was that ever in Target? Yeah, AOA decks were in Target at one point.
Yep.
So there is a potential that it's with like Excel or Target or with that level of retailer, and obviously they ain't moving it, so they cut it loose super cheap.
Which that's still so weird to me. I don't know. Maybe this is just like my location, but legitimately, I can go, and you can hear my daughter running around in the background. It's late; she's going to bed. You can like Target, Walmart, Kroger, all these places are like hard up for games, like hard up. Like there's a handful of Magic there. There's no Pokemon, no Yu-Gi-Oh. Stores are now putting like their clearance masks over there just to fill the space, because otherwise it's just an empty wall. So why are they not why is Walmart and Targets and all this jazz not stocking up on this? I mean, they're hard up for any card game right now. Why not? Give it a shot? No?
Because they have, even the ones I go to have other card games on clearance. And then they...
Yeah, their whole model, I think, is to try to find the thing that's going to be a big seller for a long time, right? So they will try something.
Is it just turn it as fast as possible?
Yeah.
Not even if it stayed on the shelf for 15 days, that's far too long. You got to get it out of here.
Yeah. Their margins are very thin, right? So they have to move product.
Don't they run a metric where it's sales per amount of space it takes?
Yeah, it's usually sales per square foot.
Yeah.
Which is what we ran that at Home Depot.
Well, let me tell you, the Target by me sales per square foot on Keyforge is, well, I would buy one deck every 2 months when I rolled in there, and I was the only one.
Yeah.
Yes. So, they're not going to put it back on the shelves. And then when they look at their history with Worlds Collide even, which is definitely a better selling set in general, but they had to clearance the crap out of all of that, too, to get rid of it.
Well, and what happened early on is that it was before the release, and so it sold extremely quickly. I mean, you had it selling out, so people were looking for it. But I think they went off those numbers, going ahead and reordering, saying, "Hey, we're getting good sales here," and then it released, and it was at full price, and nobody was buying it. So then it sat. I will tell you, I haven't seen any AOA or Worlds Collide at any of my targets within the last, I would say 3, 4, 5+ months. I haven't seen a single
that's so weird
deck.
because that space, so that Excel space is paid, like Excel pays money to Target to have that space there, or Walmart or Kroger or wherever you're at. They pay money. So it's basically, it's free money, and then Target gives them a cut of whatever sells. Am I wrong on that? Like, that's how I thought the contract worked. Or am I
don't know that much about that part of the contract, but yeah, so Excel's definitely getting a cut. Target's definitely getting a cut. I know that at least the local ones, to me, like Excel stocks that self themselves. Like,
right, because they pay. I know for a fact they pay for that space. Like that little, like whatever that is, 20 feet, they pay X amount of dollars to have their product there. And then, I think maybe it's it might be like a VMI type thing, where the vendor gets paid, this amount sold, so, a check gets cut or whatever, much higher level accounting than what I could even talk about.
But think what we've talked about in the past. Our typical Keyforge player, it happens to be a little bit more family orientated. Maybe we have kids. They're extremely thrifty at times. Most of the time, I would argue that you have very thrifty Keyforge players. And so they're not just spending aimlessly with large amounts of money. You're looking at someone who might come in and get a deck here or there. And a lot of those people are still very loyal to their friendly local game store. So if you're spending full cost, why do it at something like Target when you can go ahead and do it at a different location like your local game store? I don't see it as being a great seller in a location like Target or Kroger or any of those facets. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not seeing the numbers that are there. I
think we all want and wish and hope and dream that Keyforge would be such a massive seller that it could be there, but I don't think it needs to be to be a healthy game, right? There are so many healthy games at your local game store that just don't have the sales volume to get into Target or whatever, but every friendly local game store is always going to have, that board game. I don't know. Power Grid, right? Like, that thing's been around forever and people still buy it, but it's not like it's flying off the shelves at a crazy rate, but it still makes sense for them to stock it and sell it and whatnot. So I think I don't think we should put all of our stock in. It's got to be that big, right? It just needs to be healthy enough to sell well at a local friendly game store.
I'm not saying it has to be that big. My thought is there's a company out there that's already paying money to put their stuff on the shelf. Like, I don't care what they sell. Like, they could sell pink flowers, right? Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be a game, but that's what Excel does. They're paying money for a spot, and they're letting their spot get taken over by clearance items. I mean, I guess the contract could have changed too, but they're letting their spot be taken over by clearance items. Why not post these items in the store at a discount instead of, if it did come from Excel, instead of selling it to Ollie's for pennies on the dollar? Like, you're already paying for a spot, put it out there, see what happens. You know what I mean?
See, I haven't seen them going ahead and putting clearance items. I see other items that are there. And I think, like any retail store, you're going to put something that's selling that's going to go ahead and move on the shelf.
This is also an assumption that it actually came from Excel.
Yeah,
this is true.
And this, I mean, like, I don't know who else
would have that large quantity.
Yeah, would have that large of a quantity and clearance it outside of FFG Direct.
It was Rudy. Alpha Investors. He's dumping a bunch of AOA into the market to try to lower its price.
It seems like a lot, but it's also not necessarily a ton.
So then here's my next question, and maybe that's where we want to transition.
There's a ton of starters. Oof.
Yeah, a ton of starters. I know a number of people have been going ahead and packaging them up, trying to be able to give them away. That's a great piece. We appreciate it. But the question is the Ollie's deal is going ahead and putting it in a bargain basement discount for $5 for a starter or $8 for 12 Archon decks. Is that good for the game?
I mean, we talked about it earlier. I am in agreement. No,
I don't.
That's not good for the game.
So I have seen and I have felt here with the crowd that there is in Keyforge that I interact with on a regular basis. To some extent, there is this don't buy much at all unless it's super ridiculous cheap, which ultimately doesn't support long-term purchase and sale, because whoever's selling this stuff to you super cheap, somebody lost money on it somewhere, right? Which means they're not going to buy it again. And, you know, you're unlikely to see cheap sales again. Like, you know, healthy game sales means people are selling it at a profit. And these kinds of clearance prices are no good. Even all the cheap stuff coming out of Canada, like, my understanding is that is coming from a distributor or something that closed, although I don't know if there's any actual truth to that. But, like, that amount of newer product selling super cheap is not positive for the game, because that means, you know, that means when the next set comes, they're not going to hardly buy any of it, right? And we've already saw that. That's already happened a few times with this game with Coda that then rolled into AOA, right? People made orders based off of early Coda sales, and Coda sold out. And then they got overstocked on Coda because when it finally came in, the game had already kind of lost a little bit of the luster because it was so long between print runs. And then AOA comes on, and again, your AOA orders were put in before even that second print run Coda shipped. So people got stuck on piles of both. And then they became super hesitant, and you started seeing most places only order enough to sell, right? Like, I know I got 3 people who want a box, and I will order 1 display for the counter instead of ordering a case, right? That stopped. And then that's a significant reduction in upfront sales. And again, then like stores would run out of stock and they won't restock it because, you know, it's only a 1 box product now.
See, it's strange because I've seen this like hills and valleys, like even just at my local, right? So like Coda, you couldn't get it in, and then there was a second print run. Then there was AOA. And I don't think it took very long for a lot of people to realize AOA, yeah, it's a lot of fun, but it's not very competitive.
That's because there was some podcast out there just talking trash about it.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of show that would have been. Definitely not this one. We love
they didn't have quality co-hosts like Sheep and Ewok at that time to praise the awesomeness that is AOA.
Yeah, I mean, you guys went out of those. Yeah. Anyways, moving along. It didn't take long to find out that AOA just wasn't competitive. So when one set's getting taken to the woodshed, and this is kind of the problem with Keyforge as a whole, one of the big problems is that if you have a bad set, it really hurts because you're only releasing a set every 6 months. So when one set's getting taken to the woodshed, people aren't going to play that set, meaning people aren't going to continue to buy that set because, well, it just clearly it's no good, right? People don't buy Core 2021 for very long because it's mostly cards they already have, and there's nothing really anything good new introduced.
Oh,
so we
my
wait
shiny reverse foil Birds of Paradise full art.
That's
flavored.
I mean, really, that's
Scratch and Sniff. Is that what they are now? Scratch and Sniff.
They are Scratch and Sniff. You can smell the zoo on this Birds of Paradise.
Can we actually put that in as a request? FFG, we would like Scratch and Sniff cards. I think that would be a phenomenal way to get some of our kids involved in this game, and for all of us to reminisce about Scratch and Sniff.
What does
schnozberries taste like? Schnozberries. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. What do Brobnar smell
does Brobnar smell like disappointment?
No, that would be Sanctum.
It smells like a mosh pit, I think. That's my guess.
Yeah, I like that. But anyways, and then Worlds Collide came, and we saw an uptick. And then Mass Mutation came, and it was like, for a while there, I had to wait because I couldn't. Mass Mutation was tough to find. And now there's Dark Tidings, which we've kind of gone down to the other end, and it's been a little tough. Because Dark Tidings isn't very good, but that's unfortunate because we had, Infernus, which makes Dark Tidings not good, yada, yada, so on and so forth. So there's been like this roller coaster, right? And you with Keyforge, I've said it before, you cannot have bad sets. They all have to be bangers. Because if they're not, you have a problem. And then we saw that really with AOA. And now we have this flood of AOA into the market. And I don't know, like, is this going to get anybody into the game? Maybe one or two people. You know, is it good for the game? It might get one or two people in. But, I mean, you know, there's things, you know, and not to knock, is it Luke who does Project Reforge?
Yeah.
Yeah, not to knock it, but when you have to give stuff away to say, please come play with me, it's not a good look for the game. It's just not.
That's true in every game. Even Magic has free Magic days where they give away Magic cards. And
where is this? I have never been given a free Magic card in my life, like ever.
You're just not going to the right things.
I've been given free comic books.
I mean, like, they're Garbo, like many things. But, like...
Oh, they have those I know what you're talking about, those starter decks that you buy that the store buys, and then when
they've
you're
had
like,
free
I want
ones.
Magic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
It's like a half a deck or something like that. Yeah. I know what you're talking about now.
So, to go ahead and look at this, is this good for the game? Honestly, I'm going to put myself out there that the first sell-off of AOA, I believe it was AOA that came from 401 Games, when you had $20 boxes, that really hurts to come back then and say, hey, I'm going to actually spend full retail. Because I was still trying to support my local game store at that point, spending $120 on a box. And, you know, even to go ahead and get it at cost is a very, very different piece. And so you're trying to weigh all of those options. So I can see why a number of gamers are kind of hesitant to go, hey, why am I spending money on this when it's going to drop? I'll just wait. But I don't think that helps our game. I don't think that it helps unless we're taking those decks and being able to go ahead and you know, sealed, give them away. But that's just giving money away. And I don't see a lot of people doing that. I mean, right now what I'm seeing is people who are going to Ollie's already play Keyforge for the most part. They're buying a large quantity of this Keyforge. They're opening it up. They're taking the shards, and they're hoping to be able to pull some of those iconic, you know, combos.
You're hoping for that diamond in the rough.
It's for most of us, it's gambling, right? It's just another form of gambling. It's just this, especially with the Ollie stuff, it's super low stakes, right? You throw away $8 and you have nothing to show for it, but it was $8.
Yeah, but that really
you have 12
hurts.
chances to pull the next Sasha. 12 of them.
but here's the piece. I have no problem throwing $8 when that's less than what Archon deck is just going into my local game store. But think about that impact on that local game store who, when I need to go ahead and buy my box from them, they're selling it at 100 when it's coming out or 120. So that is where the loss is coming from, because you're not moving money to them. You're just like, hey, here's $8, but you're just going through and rattling it off. I don't know. That's why I look at this. I don't think it's good for the game. I wish that we can turn it into a positive and give some of the decks away. I'm using it as positive that on the flip side, people are putting it up on the secondary market, and I have a chance to be able to chase some of the, you know, sets or cards or things that I'm potentially looking for.
The older sets selling cheap, I don't think is a huge crush to your local game store unless they're overstocked, which most are not now. But like the Mass Mutation coming out really cheap, or if like Dark Tidings goes clearance soon, like that would be bad, because there are stores who still have their original allotment of it maybe, and like they're not making money, and now like once people get it cheap, it's hard to go back to paying for it. Like I happen to work with a store, and we do have a very large quantity of full retail cost Mass Mutation boxes to move through, which, you know, anybody who's worked with me knows I don't sell anywhere near full retail. You know, but like the fact that there was just all this cheap stuff out of Canada makes it a lot harder to ask $80 for a Mass Mutation box when people were getting them for $30 to $50.
Yeah, and I do think that this is part of the reason why coming out regularly with new sets is important, right? Because then it gives you that reason to go and buy before it's discounted, right? It gives you that reason to pre-order something from your LGS, right? Like I always make sure to do that for every new set, pre-order some stuff, pay, close to MSRP, but store's happy. They know that I'm interested in the game. And when in normal times, right, and depending on where you are as to how normal things may or may not be, but in normal times, right, in theory, they're also bringing folks in for Archon events, sealed events, whatnot. And right, they can make money off that, and they can move product through that. So, and we're not back there yet. So it's, I don't know, it's a little hard to know exactly how much impact some of these will have. These clearances will have on LGSs. I don't know. My brother did when I was like, hey, I'm getting a bunch of these starters. He's like, oh, buy one for me. I'll pay you for it. So my brother, who has 2 decks to his name, now has 4 decks to his name because I way back got him a pair and was like, we should play. And then he never super got into it, but because it was cheap, he's like, yeah, I'll buy another pair. We'll play a couple games. So
yeah, I mean, are you gonna get a handful of people? Sure, you're gonna get some people that are like, oh, what's this? Pick it up, play the game, love the game, and then continue to play the game, right? And then they understand. I see most of these decks going into the hands of people who are already playing a ton.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Which I agree. Yeah.
Our play group online here, was, I think, is responsible for buying at least 700 decks up.
Shh! Don't tell.
Between the people who I see who play with us and what has been acquired, there has been a lot.
Do you think we could go to Ollie's directly and be like, so what do you want for the whole
thing? Here's a thing, though. Yeah. I mean, actually, 100%, I think about that because I think I could have sold AOA boxes for $20 a box plus shipping relatively easily, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the whole thing is,
right?
if they're asking 8, that means they probably paid somewhere between 4 and 5?
Yeah,
2?
4.
Yeah, not much.
2 to 4.
So, Ollie's, if you're listening, what do you want for the whole palette, man? Just, let me know, and we'll make a deal.
Maybe they bought a storage unit.
And it was just filled with AOA.
I hear there was a ship that got stuck in a canal. And,
yeah, maybe it was from that.
No, I'm joking.
It was that long-awaited second print.
I guess the more my concern about something being at a place like Ollie's is if I am already a board gamer and I've thought about picking up Keyforge and then I saw it at Ollie's on the ridiculous cheap clearance, I don't think that makes me say, oh, that must be a really good game. It's here for 99% off. Right? That's not, and my number is totally wrong there.
Well, conveniently cheap, that's not an issue because all of our Keyforge players are grabbing them right away and no one's seeing them. So that's not an issue.
Only that, you're on Archon's
it's not
corner.
True because the starters at $5 a piece aren't that great of a deal, and we know even
there's
Lokakar left some behind.
Yeah, I left some behind. I didn't buy all the starters.
That isn't great for the game either. To see it, oh, hey, that game's on clearance. When I'm at my store and I see Light Seekers is on clearance, I'm like, oh, that's definitely not a game to touch. Right? And
yeah,
you have to be someone a little more discerning. I have bought stuff off the clearance area of my FLGS, but I knew exactly what it was and had read about it and was like, oh yeah, 2 years ago that was a game I was interested in and just never got around to it. Now it's a good price, so yeah, I'll play it.
I guess there is that hope is that I don't think Keyforge has a bad name out there, so people who know about it and see it that cheap go well, it could be good for a laugh and then they're just going to buy it because, like paying $5 or $8 or whatever, like, and you play it once and you throw it away, you don't feel bad about your money. So it's okay from that regard, and maybe they stick with it. But somebody who is on the fence already looking for the next game to really spend money on, I don't think it's great for it to be seen as a game that's on clearance all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, that's fair.
I've gone ahead and seen a number of people playing like, hey, I got all these new decks from Ollie's. Let's go ahead and play in TCO. Let's crack them open and play, which is really cool. But the question is, what are you doing with all of your decks? Or if you were able to get Ollie's decks, because not all of us could do that, what would you do with them if you got a big, giant allotment of AOA?
I'm trying a new plan.
Being
that I'm thinking about buying a different house and moving, the Ollie's boxes I got are just going in a box and going into the storage pile, right? To be looked at sometime in the future.
Yep, mine would go in the same box where all the other shit decks go. Sorry. I had to get one more ribbon there before we ended this.
Says the guy whose best deck is an AOA deck.
All right, Draz, what would you do if you...
Well, so I got a few, right? Okay. So I bought 6 of the starters, right? And then gave one to my brother. So I have 10 decks, and I'm going to play them. I'm going to play them all. So
do you have Ollie's nearby?
Not like super close, but like... it's a little bit of a drive. It's like 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
Yeah. There's another one.
Yeah, we're in Wisconsin. Like, 40 minutes is commute to work.
I was going to say 40 minutes is from me to Dan.
A little further.
So anyways, you and I will talk. I want you. I don't know what they have left, but I might ship you some money.
And this is what we were talking about, Keyforge players.
Give me some of that cheap AOA, yeah.
It's so cheap. I can't. Stop.
So we were talking to Grandpa Z about this, and he said if he was at an Ollie's and he saw $8 display boxes, he would leave them behind. That's how much he hates AOA.
He is so full of beans. He knows he would be like, well, how many fit in a cart? And then he would buy them all. Like, come on. I know
no, he wouldn't.
Says
he would leave
yes,
it.
He would. No, he would not. He would 100% buy it. He'd be like, I might find one good deck out of 10,000. How much is the palette? And then, like, he would 100% buy them. I don't care what Z says. Like, it's easy to say it. Like, he doesn't have an Ollie's anywhere close to him, from what he's told me. It's easy to say when they're thousands of miles away. But if somebody came up to him and, like, all of a sudden he was like, $7 AOA boxes, maybe I'll buy a few dozen. And he would. 100% he would. There's no way he wouldn't.
Oh, I will say that if I had decks, Lucar did grab a few for me. So I'm hoping to actually pull some Gang or Not, because I still have yet to pull a Gang or Not. And I would love to have some Jenka, because I still haven't pulled. So there's things that I'm searching for, I think that would be fun. That's really what I'm going to be looking for. I'm going to play the decks and have fun, because that's what I like to do. I like to see what the decks can go ahead and roll with. And how can you pass up $8 for 12 decks? Man, that is, it's scary, but even if I play them once and they're they're good or bad, I can shredder them, or I can go ahead and give it. If it's great, but not phenomenal top tier, I can go and give it to someone else and they can have a blast with it. So
I was gonna say, not only that, like, okay, let's put it this way: when you're at a certain point in your, I'm gonna just kind of a weird thing, Keyforge career. All right, you just want to become a degenerate, and that's where I am. So I am looking for Heart of the Forest, like, no joke. Like, I'm just like, I'm playing Heart. Don't care. I'm playing it.
I will tell you, part of my search is to grab Heart, just because everyone else it should be burned, and I want to save all of our hearts so that they don't go to a burning pile. So again,
I will burn your house down. If the heart concentration gets high enough, I will just burn your house down, I think.
So send all of your
but your decks are gone.
Send all of your heart decks to Ewok. He will go ahead and secure them in a master vault so that they are safe and secure.
Send them all to Sheep, and he will secure them in his shredder.
Listen, I can't wait for that day that me and Sheep are sitting across from each other at a vault tour somewhere, and I have to hand him my Archon card, and it's AOA, and the first thing he sees is Untamed Heart of the Forest. Like, I can't wait for that day. I'm super pumped about it.
Well, it depends. I mean, if
I've
he
never
if he's got
been more
urge for it,
disappointed in you folks than I am right now.
I mean, listen,
I think there's more tools to deal with Heart now than there have.
Yeah,
ever
for
been.
sure. Well, I'll have a Reclaim by Nature, and I will laugh at your deck.
Yeah, until I have that awesome Nep Seed.
Reclaim by Nature
Nature.
purges it.
Yeah, I've heard.
That's why I play a double heart deck, duh.
Send all your double heart decks, dude.
Send all your double heart. I don't even care. I'll pay you $10 a piece. Doesn't matter what they are. I'll send all your double heart decks to. All right. We don't have a ton of time here, so we're gonna actually skip into next week. Actually, but as you're hearing this, maybe I'm not sure. I might have to release this episode a little earlier than planned. You will have the in-flight report from FFG. So they kind of gave us an article today that's going to outline what that looks like on the 15th, which is next Wednesday. They're going to go into the in-flight report and looking at what's coming up for FFG. And then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, it looks like they're Thursday and Friday, they're doing nothing but... Oh, no, it's two different ones. Lord of the Rings and then a Game of Thrones. And then Saturday is just going to be Unfathomable Big Game, whatever that means. But
So I'm going to go ahead and throw something out here. It was a little disappointing with Gen Con. I always look forward to them talking specifically about Keyforge as a specific topic. So to not see it, that did bother me. But I'm gonna go ahead and plead FFG. You have a phenomenal game. You have so many options. I know that you're going to absolutely surprise us and wow us, and that's going to be coming in that in-flight games report. So I'm waiting for next Wednesday, to be able to see what is offered up.
I'm not sure if I'm off or not. I was say I might be able to live stream it if I'm off. I don't know what time it's supposed to pop up.
It's 7 p.m.
7 p.m.
Yeah, 7 o'clock.
We might hang out in the old AC Discord, and maybe we'll live stream it and talk about it, and then all of our we can all groan disappointedly together.
Yeah, maybe we're completely surprised, and they've been working on things behind the scenes, and we're going to be absolutely wowed.
I
Fingers
really
crossed.
Hope so. I really
there.
hope so. Because if I don't hear anything about Keyforge, I am going to be so depressed.
Well, But I think that the community, again, continues to pick up. One of the AMA questions, you can kind of filter that in. What's the take on international scene at Keyforge? I think that we see a phenomenal scene that is right now over in the Nordic area. I think that going ahead and seeing it in Italy has a great presence. I think East Asia has a presence. I think that there are some absolutely phenomenal communities that are out there that are willing to go ahead and continue to push this game. I think that we have a phenomenal opportunity, and it's just a matter of can FFG kind of do what it needs to and get out of our way so that we can continue to have fun.
And the big difference between
international and US,
international us, number one is FFG, because there is no FFG across the pond.
I know, it's
just
Asmodee.
And the biggest difference between the Asian scene, the Nordic scene, and the European scene, support. It's the big. It is the biggest difference. I mean, I know that Europe is getting support for even fan run events, and we saw them run events in. Was that China? That was China, right?
Yep. With the
China.
Yep.
That had a prize wall and all these other things. So the big difference between them and us is the support. Obviously, we're not in a place where we can like open, and other places are. So it's just different. But that is the biggest thing. And like I said, I honestly hope, like, I will be so upset if I go on 7 o'clock and they're just like, yep, new set's coming. Stay tuned. And that's all we get. Because I feel like we've been super
just
slighted.
Mention to us, I'll be happy with anything.
Yeah, I'm with Draxcore on that. Honestly, if they say a new set is coming and we're looking at returning to kind of that November the November timeframe, that would actually really, really make me happy. I'm not even joking. And I'm just looking for any information from Fantasy Flight right now. It has been a little bit cold in my opinion, but I think that anything will help us. Here's your next set. Here is what's happening.
I'm not going to lie. I would be so disappointed. I would thoroughly be disappointed because it's like you haven't released anything on your webpage since the release of Dark Tidings. Games that you're not even running anymore have gotten more articles than this one. And I'm going to cough, so hold on a second. And I know you got new games coming out, and I know they need love too. But L5R is a game that you don't even make anymore. You do not run card tournaments or anything. You don't even make the game anymore. Yet you've still given those more love than you've given Keyforge. So, yeah, I'd be a little disappointed. Sheep, how about you? What would you feel? Are you muted? Never mind. Go ahead.
I'm here. Yeah, it's here's something or doom and gloom like we've never seen before.
Yeah, but I think the game that you're talking, is that not a board game that's there?
Yeah, that's the Unfathomable is a big board game.
The Battlestar
Yeah, the
Galactica
Unfathomable is a board game.
No, I'm even looking at Thursday's The Lord of the Rings, Journeys in Middle-earth Spreading War, because it says gameplay preview.
It's kind of a card. They did it on their YouTube.
Okay.
It's kind of a mix between a card and a board game, I guess. It's cards, but it's really strange. It's very FFG if you get that meaning.
But but what I'm saying is I see that more as I would place that more as a board game, and so what they're going to do is push their new product, and this is their new product. I follow it as more of a board game, and I think Fantasy Flight is well known for their board games. That's why you're seeing that. So,
and I'm not saying don't push. I get it. The new product needs pimping, right? Like I understand that. But you have to give love to the product that is being supported by people.
Yeah,
like you have to, like you have to release an article. You have to announce something. You have to do something. Like right now, you have to do anything. Because I feel like each day that goes by that we don't have a word announced is more and more people who like Sheep said who are doom and gloom. And more people who are just like, listen, I'm out.
Well, at least there's still cool community-supported events happening. There's that Keyforge Live in Italy coming up. Yep. There's the real event in Kansas City coming up. And then the Game Center, which used to be FFG Game Center, they're doing a pop-up Gen Con. And on their thing, they're having... and whatever it is, the 17th and 18th, they're going to be running Keyforge events there.
Yep.
So there are still community-supported events happening for this game. So hopefully FFG comes out of the coma before long and supports some Keyforge.
Yeah. All right, guys. We're getting to our hour here. So we got it's time for... final thoughts. I was going to sneak an AMA question in here, but I don't think we're going to have time. So we'll just move straight to final thoughts. JR, what you got?
Hey, I put in what's your take on the international Keyforge scene? We're good.
Oh, that's true. That's true. You did.
Yeah.
We did sneak
and I think that's because we just have a handful left. We want to go ahead and splat these in for the AMA.
Damn
questions.
them Hamburg Atlanteans and winning everything.
So that would be your other one. Which non-US based Keyforge community team or group would you engage with more? So you want the Hamburg Atlanteans?
No, they kick my ass. I don't need to engage with them anymore.
I actually am part of the Discord for the Nordic, and I really enjoy being able to talk. Guys, listen to some of the chatter, guys and girls. I mean, it's the community, so it's more of a euphemism for the plural. But I've had a blast being there. My final thoughts really fall in that keep playing Keyforge. I know that we're all at very, very different spots. If you can get out and play in real life, please do so. Support your local game store through this all. That's who we really need to be our ambassadors to say, hey, play this game. They are the best way to introduce it to new players. Stay safe, stay healthy. Hopefully you don't get COVID with a new variant. And hopefully you'll be able to play in real life again.
All right, sheep.
Yeah, play Keyforge.
Sweet.
It's the start of American football, and I got players on my fantasy team going.
Okay. Right,
Go
like right
sports
now?
Ball. I do like football.
Yeah, like
Oh,
Tampa Bay is playing Cowboys right now.
Thought that started next week. I got my weeks all screwed up. So, Drazcore, Z-Core, what you got?
Yeah. So, thanks for having me on as a guest. Happy to jump on every so often. Check out my regular podcast, KFPL.
Whoa! I didn't say you could pimp anything.
Oh well,
I'm just
You
kidding.
can always pimp. We appreciate you joining us, especially at short notice.
Yes.
Promote.
You're a good Z.
You're a much better Z than our own.
All right,
so
I'm not
go
going that
ahead.
far. I'm not going that far. But we love you.
Yeah. So,
Thankfully, RZ doesn't have ears and can't listen to podcasts.
Yeah, he doesn't listen.
there you go. Yeah. No, we so in our last episode that just came out, we had mentioned we're looking for a new name for our podcast. We had some listeners send us in a bunch of ideas, so we're still trying to figure out what the right one is. So, if you haven't sent us an idea, Jupiter an idea already, and you think you got something good, let us know, and we're going to be picking something soon.
I was just gonna say I don't know if Z owns a smartphone. He might still have a flip phone.
No, he certainly has a smartphone.
I don't know about all that, but my vote's for Z-Core and friend. Throwing it out
We
there.
can go with Zupiter.
Jupiter. Ooh, that's a good one too. Yeah, I like them all. But that's gonna do it for us.
It'll be like it's just their bad relationship name.
Hold
like
on. We got to do a better job. So we do have some, spots that you can reach out and talk to us. Those would be,
That's awful.
Yeah, you can find us on Facebook at Archons Corner. Again, all the Patreons. Thank you guys so much. Patrons now get to listen to this show ad-free. I know that was a big thing you asked for. It is now here. You can also find us on Facebook at Archons Corner, YouTube also at Archons Corner. So pretty much Archons Corner, and you'll find all our stuff. Just use the Google machine.
And when in doubt, send your Heart of the Forest decks to Ewok Jr.
That's right, but send your double Heart of the Forest decks to Wookie. Because I need to make Dan lose the little hair that he's got left. Oh no, that's the other way around. Damn it. It's JR that doesn't have any hair. But you like Heart of the Forest. Anyways.
Am I gonna have to start a burn the heart fund?
You might, because I'm gonna buy up all them decks. Like I'm literally gonna go on DOK right now and
I'm going to GoFundMe right now. I'm gonna start my burn the heart. Need money to buy heart packs.
I'm gonna find the ball and be like, how much you want for that heart deck? $5. Mine. So that's gonna do it for us this week, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening as we ramble on for a few minutes more here. We'll see y'all next week.
With good
Like who would have thought, who would have known? I could see they in their feelings, I got here all alone, yeah. Now I'm on the top, I'm on the throne. You can't see me with a pair of binoculars, I'm gone. And it's unfortunate you feel that way, but no matter how you feel, I'm gonna still get paid, yeah. I'm not consumed by the fortune and fame, cause I'm aware of the regret and all the torture it brings. I'll just keep it moving, I know it's true in my heart. Like the weed that play the beat and then all I do is get lost. I'm thankful for life now, cause I know it used to be hard. If I make shit you relate to, I know I'm doing my part, Mark. You can find me in the drop top bands with the roof off.